I've been reading today chapter 16 of Exodus, and there are several lessons that I have taken out of that text. The first one is that they were in a place, Alim, which means strength, which means freshness. It's an oasis. It's a place where there was water, food, and everything. And they were driven guided by God to the Sinai. And but they had to cross the desert of Sin. And sin in Hebrew means thorns, something that itches, that stitch, that is painful. And obviously it was God who was guiding them through that desert and guiding them through those pains, but to bring them to a better place where they had to stay for a longer time and enjoy other benefits and blessings. So yes, sometimes God takes us from one place, which is a good one for us, and drives us, guides us through pains, through struggles, because He's leading us to a better place. So think about that if you're struggling right now. Maybe not. Think about that. God is leading you to a better place. So instead of complaining, please trust Him. And this is the following lesson that I've learned of that text. The following lesson is that they started to complain. They started to murmur, to whispering, talking in whispers, to murmur against Moses, Aaron, and at the end they were murmuring against God. They were saying it would have been better for us to stay in Egypt and to die there, because we had some food, some flesh, some meat, I don't know. And they were complaining, murmuring and complaining. The point is that Moses said, "You're not complaining against me. I'm just a person who is following some orders. You're actually complaining against God." So think about that. When you're complaining against your boss, at the end you're complaining as well against God, because either He appointed him, either He allowed him to be there somehow, even if he's not a person that was led by God directly, but at least He allowed that to happen. So you are complaining against God somehow. And so think about this, stop that. And if you're a leader and the people is complaining against you, well, you should think about that, but they are not complaining only against you, they're also complaining against God. And the following lesson that I've learned is that it says that God said, "I have heard the murmuring." They were whispering bad things, and I have heard that. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. Why? Because we think, very often we say that God only hears prayers, and not all of them. But this text shows us that it's just the opposite. He hears, He listens to everything. Not only our prayers, but He also hears our murmuring, our complaints, when we are just criticizing others in small committee, in a small room, when we think that no one else is listening to us. That's why I'm recording this from my office, because this happens most oftenly in our workplace. And we think, listen, I have to tell you, I do not agree with the president, with the boss, with whatever he is, the chef, because of that, and we're doing it somewhere whispering because we don't want to be heard. And we are wrong. God says, "I've heard your murmuring. I've heard your complaint. I've heard you complaining, and that's why I'm here." So the point is that when we pray, we talk to God, and He helps us. He can answer that prayer. But when we are murmuring and we are complaining, we are not addressing our conversation to God. He listens as well, but He can do nothing to answer that, because we are not asking Him for His advice, for His help. So He's blocked. And that's why we say that prayers are not listened. Yes, they are, but they cannot be answered because they have not been done. We have been just murmuring, complaining. But instead of just stopping there and pointing out with a judging finger, God says, "Please, Moses, tell them to come to me. Let's talk. what's going on, what's happening. I've already heard what's going on, but please, they need to tell me that. I need to talk to them. I need them to talk to me, and that will allow me to act, to bring up solutions. On the text in the chapter 16, we see that God brought the manna, the bread of heaven, and he brought some food, all the kind of meats and other things. So he was ready to answer, but the people needed to talk to God instead of complaining. So that's the last lesson I want to share with you. Instead of complaining about your work, your job, your problems at the office, or whatever it happens around you in the family or in any other circle of your life, bring that up to God on prayer. And He, which is already listening to you when you are complaining, now He will still listen to you, but furthermore, He will be able to act, to intervene, and to answer your prayers. And that's by far much more better to invite God into your own life. This is very positive. I like how God turns negative things into positive things.